Tonight at 9 o'clock, President Trump will deliver the State of the Union address, which always draws tens of millions of viewers. However, as voters become more divided, it's worth questioning if this primetime event still holds the same importance as it once did. And joining us now is Larry Sabato with Sabato's Crystal Ball at the University of Virginia Center for Politics. Sir, thank you so much for being with us this afternoon.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. So let's get your take on this. Is the State of the Union still necessary?
Well, I don't know if it's necessary. You know, the Constitution mandates that the president shall report from time to the Congress. It doesn't say every year. And indeed, we had presidents who did it very infrequently and never did it in person, such as Thomas Jefferson, who was a bit shy. So he would send a written report to Congress. It isn't necessary, but I think it's a useful exercise in civic education. Unfortunately, Americans don't look at it the way they did when, say, I was growing up in the 1950s. 1960s. Everybody watched as a duty of citizenship. That's no longer the case.
Yeah, definitely not the event for those with stage fright. That's very interesting about former President Jefferson there. Why do you think this address has declined in meaning?
Because we become very polarized, extremely so, and it's gotten worse year by year. You know, tonight, at least the projections are that maybe about 30 million people, maybe 40 will tune in. You know, the Kennedy-Nixon debates in 1960 got 70 million people watching, and we were a much smaller country. We hadn't even hit 200 million. We have 330 million now. So it's disturbing in a way, but that's life.
And several Democratic lawmakers, including at least 4 in Maryland, have said they're not going to attend the address. And in recent years, you know, thinking back, we've seen more outbursts from the opposing party, these statements, these scenes. It kind of becomes a stage. Is the State of the Union just becoming more about politicians having their moment and creating even these viral moments in this digital era?
Yes. In a word, yes. Look, never really before Trump would you have a president attacking individuals or groups in a State of the Union address, which Trump has done, and in a lot of other circumstances too. And also, it used to be an informal prohibition, and everybody subscribed to it, that you did not utter a word during the president's State of the Union address, no matter how strongly you felt about it. That was for afterwards. You could go seek out the cameras if you were a congressman and say what you thought was good and bad. Well, all of this has gone by the boards, and now anything goes.
And talk to us about, you know, the president's speech. What are you expecting, Larry, to hear from the president tonight? He did say that this would be a long speech.
Oh, I'm sure of that. The last one was 99 minutes, and that set a record. I wouldn't be surprised if this one were even longer than 99 minutes. So, you know, make sure you have plenty of coffee. But look, it's the president's prerogative, you know, and it's once a year for this state address, and I think it's legitimate to do. I do think it would be useful for President Trump if he leveled with the American public and told them what they already know. For example, the economy, at least in terms of prices, is terrible. And they keep going up, and people are having a hard time buying groceries. Don't tell people that everything's great, because that's not true. Go back and watch Gerald Ford's State of the Union address, in which he said, I think he's the only president who's ever said this, the State of the Union is not good because of inflation and high interest rates and so on. But he got credit for being frank.
In those moments, owning up to something can provide more power in those moments. Let's talk now about the Democrats' response after President Trump's address for those in Virginia. This will be a familiar face to them because this will be delivered by Virginia Governor Abigail Spanberger. Why do you think she was picked? And do you think this says something about how her party maybe views her role long term?
Well, she was newly elected in a landslide, and mainly because of opposition to Trump. Yes, people like Spanberger, but they were very opposed to Trump. So that projects the message that Democrats want. And she's fairly moderate. She's not one to lash out, although the best description I ever heard of her is she's tough but nice, or nice but tough. Take your pick.
Yeah, she's been known to work across the aisle and served in Congress, known there for sure. Larry, from your perspective and from your expertise, What do you want to see tonight from this address?
Honesty, honesty. And also, let's put the fact checkers out of business. No lies, no misrepresentations. And I know that's impossible, but you asked me what I'd like to see. I'd like to make lying wrong again.
Larry Sabato with Sabato's Crystal Ball at the University of Virginia Center for Politics. Larry, thank you so much for taking the time to shed some light on what we could see tonight with us this evening.
Thank you.